When I go, don't cry for me. In my Father's arms I'll be. Sun and moon will be replaced with the light of Jesus' face.
All right. Welcome to Synchronicity. We got a good one this week. I like how I say it's a good. I haven't even recorded it. It could be terrible. This could be the worst episode ever, but I'm saying it's a good one. Self-fulfilling prophecy. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff, as we always do, and by we I mean me and you listening. I think primarily we're going to be talking about this two minds stuff. I've recently revisited, patrons know this, a wonderful lecture series by Neville Goddard, which I think it's called Manifest Your Desires. It's an audiobook that's available on Audible, but there's also a written version of it, which is what I was first familiar with. But I like the Audible version. It's cool. And it's a series of lectures that Neville Goddard gave, I believe, in the 60s in San Francisco. And it's pretty fucking amazing. It's like it's like a condensed version of everything he had said in a pretty short period of time. So it's fucking great. What stuck out to me the most, and we'll recap everything I can remember, is this two minds thing. This idea of two minds, right? We have our natural/carnal mind. Then we have our spiritual/Christ-like mind, right? And as a recap, in case people have missed it, they haven't listened to the original Imaginal Techniques episode, they haven't really delved into the techniques of Neville Goddard or what his beliefs were or what our beliefs are. Everything in the Bible, right? This goes for any holy scripture, but in the Bible, there's no one ever named Jesus, right? There might have been a man, whatever, but there's not a real person. There's no one named Abraham, no one Moses, no Rachel, no Sarah, no Ruha, whatever. They didn't exist. They're not real people. And if that pings you the wrong way, if you're like, well, how do you know? Did you live back then? How do you know? It's not important. It's not really what this is about. These books, these holy scriptures, anything anyone says, they're all allegories. They're metaphors that convey a psychological truth, an emotional truth that we all experience, even if we can't quite put our finger on it all of the time. It resonates with us on some level because if we don't full sail reject it, because it's true, right? There's not these things that were going on about this guy who did this shit. It's about this process of awakening, of realization. We slumber in a state of thinking that whatever we see out in the world, our external reality, what our senses perceive, our five senses, that's real. Anything else, just our imagination. That's how most people have approached the world. Now, we get fed experiences that are synchronistic, magical, miraculous, transcendent, that kind of puncture a hole in this kind of bubble boy-like suit of how we go around our world and exist in our world. So then we're like, I don't know if this adds up. And more people have had these experiences in our timeline. We're in a timeline. We're in the year 2020, having a great time, right, guys? Election coming up, fun times, world's on fire. It actually is a fun time, though. We're in a timeline where it seems like many of the beings that have incarnated here on Earth are ready to wake up. And wake up is relative. It doesn't mean you necessarily wake up into a permanent state of enlightenment and stay there. A lot of the readings, people have been sharing that they've accessed very powerful states of consciousness, but then have some degree of difficulty stabilizing that into something that is everlasting or feels like it's integrated into who you are and can't be shaken away, right? And we do this all the time. Sometimes we just don't recognize what states we're dwelling in and accepting in our lives. So anyway, a lot of people are waking up to this And it's awesome. What a crazy cool fucking time you chose to incarnate. That's something that I don't want to get lost in all of this. The fact that you're here, the fact that you're listening to this, even if it's well into the future, like, you're a badass. You did a fucking great job. You fucking incarnated in such a wild time. And I know we could look at almost any segment of history and say it's wild, but this is real wild. Like, telepathy, psychic shit, fucking mass consciousness combined with this rational masculine paradigm that's evolved over the past 2,500 years. They're just slamming into each other. I described it last week, I think, as Kali fucking Jesus. And that is what it's like. It's like Kali's just like, yo, I'm gonna ride you, Jesus. And Jesus is like, all right, I'm down. This is gonna be cool. That's basically what we're going through. So there's a lot of destruction. There's a lot of rebirth, resurrection. That's this process. And the reason I believe that that's happening now is people are ready for this realization that that's what you're going through. You're going through the process of death, transformation, and resurrection. In the past, many people would have potentially just like died physically rather than exist in this world where like shit is really fucking getting nuts. So yeah, that's what's going on. We're having a good time. Rational mind, natural mind, we'll call it, and spiritual mind. Your natural mind takes in the feedback and the phenomena of this world and just accepts it. It's just like, this is real. This is what I perceive. I will make observations based on what I perceive. This is also known as empiricism, and therefore reality will tell me what it is. This is a fundamentally broken way of looking at the world. It doesn't mean it's bad. I do it all the time. It's fucking great sometimes, but it is wrong. It is incorrect in terms of how actually things flow down into this world, right? We have our 3D world here. It exists. What is the only thing we're really aware of while we're here? Now, right? It's the only thing we perceive is now. Past is gone. Future isn't here yet. It's just now. And so there's been a lot of like spiritual lessons on being in the now, tapping into the power of now, because this is very acute, aware state of being that if you can implant and incept yourself with grand visions and emotional states, you should have a good time. But it is constrained to just this perception of now. However, if you go into your spiritual mind, your imagination, your consciousness, whatever you want to call it, everything exists, right? There's the past, there's the future, there's things that have happened, have not happened, will happen. Who knows? There's everything. So you're not constrained by time and space. Spice? You're not constrained by time and space. No big deal. But you're not. And that's critically important. That's a more expansive, I would argue, complete picture of reality. I don't want to say it's done, it's all finished, but what that means is anything you can imagine is a higher dimensional reality that you have access to, that you can basically tune into and then have it put into a projector of your life and then played out. I've been revisiting this idea too, which is the producer, writer, director, actor sequence, right? You produce a thought, a feeling of something you would like to see. You're a producer. You want to make a movie. You go, all right, I have this great idea for a movie where this character slowly realizes that they're the creator of everything and then just has a fucking amazing time doing it. That's my idea. I'd like to produce that. Here's the funding. I know some people. Let's get it together. Then you need someone to write it because maybe the producer isn't a writer, but you're all of these things. So that's cool. You have to write it. Then you have to write this story. You're like, all right, I got to write it. There's got to be emotional arcs here. There's got to be ebbs and flows. Like, I know how to tell a good story. You got to have all this stuff packed in. And then we'll do this big culmination and an apex. And it'll be like, wow. All right. So they got to write all the specific things, the characters, the roles, the scenes, the scenery, all this shit, right? Then you have the director. The director has to be like, all right, you stand here, you do this. I need you to give a little more emotion there. It needs to really seem like you don't have money. Like this character has to feel like they don't have money or they're incapable of being in an awesome relationship. Really make it, like, do all the things that convey that, Then it gets down to you, this avatar in this world. You're the actor. Now, here's the thing. You have some stylistic choices. You have some methodological choices of how you'd like to act out the role, but at the end of the day, your role has already been conceived, written, and directed for you. So you're just playing it out. You're just like, hey, stand here, Channing Tatum. Is that a person? I think that's a person. His name sounds weird out loud. Channing Tatum? All right, stand here. You say this. I think I saw a TikTok of Channing Tatum crying on, is that his name? Tatum Channing? All right, I've lost the plot here. Regardless, I saw a TikTok of him and he was like able to cry on command and he was just like, yeah, man, that's all it is. So that was cool. I don't know what made me bring that up. But anyway, it stands out for an actor in my mind for some reason. So you're just playing out this role and that's it. You don't really have a choice in terms of what you're doing here. But you do have a choice in terms of how you produce, write, and your life. I do hear this thing cutting out at random times. Not sure what that's about. Big time Mercury retrograde energy, by the way. Just like technical shit. I know everybody's like, well, it's always going on. You're just paying attention. No, it's not always going on. I know in weird... if you know enough about like electricity and electronic devices, like there are certain things that just don't make sense. You track them back. There's like a series of things that have to happen. And it's just like, that doesn't make sense. What happened there? It's weird. Anyway, that's been going on. But when you recognize that you have this ability to enter your spiritual mind, which is withdrawing your attention from your senses and the feedback they provide, and then focusing on something that implies you are the person you are, focusing on the feeling of the wish fulfilled, all of this stuff that, you know, we learn it, we do it, it happens, and then sometimes we forget. And then we find ourselves in a situation where we're like, oh shit, this is getting fucking crazy. What am I doing? Maybe this doesn't work. Maybe this isn't right. Maybe I got it wrong. Maybe it works for a little bit and then it doesn't. But that precisely, those are the moments that we design for ourselves to show us the true power of this stuff. And the beauty is in the simplicity of whatever you want to call it, the techniques or the belief or just kind of the meta skills of shaping your reality. And a lot of this stuff has to do with removing your attention from the external. That includes the characters and roles. We'll give an example, classic example. There's two main points I think people use when we're talking about like manifestation. And I think the first hurdle, I think a lot of people have scaled it this year, but the first hurdle is, okay, well, this is great, you know, imagination, manifestation, but like, what about the poor person? And like, you know, who just has like no way. You're going to go tell them they can just imagine themselves having money and then they're going to have it. Kinda. Yeah, that is what I'm saying. And if I wasn't saying that, I would be an asshole, right? I would be a real piece of shit. If I'm just going around telling people like, hey, yeah, you can manifest anything you want. You can imagine anything you are and you will become that and the world will shape itself to feed you that reality. And it wasn't true for some people. I'm a sociopath at that point. So recognize there's a certain level of confidence, faith, and conviction, which you may test time and time again. That's cool if you want to play that game. But there is like a level of conviction and confidence that you need to know on like a deep root level that this is applicable for anything. And if you start going out and getting into the weeds in the cultural, social, political spheres, it's going to get harder. So my advice is use it for your life first. Like I get the idea of wanting to imagine world peace. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a wonderful goal. In fact, it's not even that hard to imagine. You just do it. But if that's what you're so caught up on, and then you go out in the world and you see signs of friction, you go, oh, it's not working. That's what we do a lot with our own lives. But just focus on yourself. And then the other thing is that is brought up, I think Duncan brought this up on the podcast I did with him last year. What if two people are imagining the same exact house or the same exact person? What happens? Well, what I will say is that is most likely there's a lesson there, right? There's a lesson of someone really wants that house and feels destined for it. And maybe the other person is destined to learn the lesson that they didn't really want it. So I think it works out perfectly no matter what. But again, that's not your concern. It's not looking at what someone else wants or what someone else is going to do or the external factors of the world. It's really about focusing on your own shit, what you want, what you feel, what you truly desire, the wish you have. I'm going to keep trying to bring it back to front and center from your perspective, what you want, because that seems to be people who are like getting in these weird states are putting way too much belief and faith and confidence in external reality. And external reality is great, okay? Even if everyone ultimately is a reflection of you on like a fundamental deep level, and your consciousness creates your reality and creates the roles that they're playing and serve in your life, that doesn't mean that there's not beauty and just harmony and all of the great shit out there. But it does mean you're in charge. And that is something that I also think people may not recognize that they're doing this sometimes, is that if you have a tendency to blame someone else for your circumstances or their actions, even if they're objectively horrible, you may just not be ready for the responsibility that comes like with full acceptance of this, which is you're doing it. It's you. It's always you. This also builds a type of foundation that is unshakable. What are you going to do when someone does something, but you're just going to blame them and then go into what? That world where someone has power over you because of their actions. You always get to control what you're doing. And if you see someone doing something to you that you really don't like, and you go down and you use one of these techniques to kind of summon forth a reality that implies everything is amazing and that like it will change. It's your belief. We get stuck in these habitual patterns, and we think habit is this unbreakable law of, or like very difficult to break pattern, like a habit. You start doing something, whether it's good or it's bad. It's hard to get. It's not. It's simple. You just move out of the state. That's really what it is. A lot of people, you got to build habits. You got to do this. Of course, there's amazing benefits over time towards consistently doing the same thing over and over in a specific way. No one's denying that. But it's also easy to just quantum leap out of a state. That's super important. So let's say you're one of those people who can do that. You have found that no matter what state you're in, whether it's depressed, anxious, happy, blissful, content, whatever the state is, you have the ability to move out of it very quickly, right? Quantum leap, descend or ascend, right? Ascend in terms of recognizing the higher perspective of your spiritual mind, that everything exists, that all possibilities and potentialities exist, and you can pick from any one at any time that you would like to experience if you know what's going on and when to do it. Or you can be like, no, shit is bad. This is how things are, and that's just the way my life is, and things won't change. And you will, of course, get that. But a lot of people are doing this oscillation game where they're like, okay, this works. I get it. I'm going to do these techniques. They work. And then something happens that shakes them a little bit. And I spoke about this early on, and I think in the second episode, the Imaginal Techniques, number 2, threshold guardians, anxiety, doubts, fears, worries, dramatic things going on outside, relationships imploding, worlds imploding. They're threshold guardians. It's you testing yourself. You're literally about to kill yourself. Truthfully, you're about to psychically murder yourself. Suicide, psychic suicide. And that's a terrifying thing for a version of you to experience who hasn't fully made peace with what that means, right? And that's why we have this beautiful death metaphor. What a crazy thing to set up in reality. There's going to be this point where people are progressing, they're growing, and then they're going to start declining a little bit, and then they're just going to be gone from that reality physically. Just gone. Turn into like worm food or ash or whatever. That's weird. It's not true, by the way. There's nothing in reality that actually works like that. We can even see that backed up physiologically and physically in our environment. Like there's still something there. It doesn't evaporate. It doesn't just go nowhere. And of course, there's the spiritual soul that, gets released from this mortal coil. It's not a bad thing. Excuse me. It's not like we should be, rushing towards physical death full throttle. But, ooh, what's going on? Throat chakra. Yoy. That happens, I guess. The truth is that physical death is just a metaphor for a very big question that everyone has to face, which is this real? Is this over? If I die as me, will I still be me? Yeah, you will. You'll be a different version of you. That exact version of you is gone, but it's because it's your awareness of who you are. So when you accept who you are, who you want to be, Let's talk about desire again. Desire is just clarity of something you want, right? Something you're not now, something you don't have now. That rational mind, that natural mind. It's like, I don't have it. That's cool. That's fine. They play together. One's not better than the other. They're just two sides of the same coin, right? Our conscious mind or subconscious mind, our masculine mind or feminine mind. Two sides of the same coin. One is not better than the other. Don't think of it like that. We don't want to be pejorative. This is like getting into the ego stuff. People are like, the ego's so bad. Sure, it can be when it's overblown or like underdeveloped. Yeah, it's not great. It's how we navigate the world, but there's nothing inherently wrong with it. Ego is great. Make your ego a wolf who is your friend, who doesn't attack things it doesn't need to attack, but will support you in a confident way. That's nice. Wolves are cool. Wolves are cool. Make it your friend is what I'm saying. So our rational mind, I keep calling it rational mind, but our natural mind is limited and hindered by this experience of now. And this is like kind of a weird way of looking at now. Everyone's like, now so great. It is so great, but it's also limiting. This is your perspective now. It's great. It's a wonderful moment. You can switch into any state from this moment. I love it. It's a great vehicle, but it's limited. So when you're going to sleep, in your state akin to sleep, we're going to try something this week. We haven't done group imaginations in a while. Let's do one. Okay. Neville Goddard like 3 p.m. as the time. I think Mitch Horowitz also likes 3 p.m. We're going to do a different time on this podcast. Time is relative. I shall not be bound to any specific time, except how about at 4:20 p.m. Eastern? Everyone gets into a state akin to sleep, a lightly meditative. I like to lay down. Some people like to sit up and attentive. I like to lay down, get super comfortable. Find yourself on that threshold right in between going to sleep and being awake. Light attention, super light, no big deal, super easy, light. Okay. From there, you're going to already have a desire, something you want. For people who don't know exactly what they want, think about it. Don't limit yourself. Don't be like, well, I couldn't, I dare not. I shan't do that. Just do it. What is it? You want to be famous? You want to have a lot of sex? You want to have a lot of money? Just don't. It will lead you to where you need to go is what I'm trying to say. So don't judge it. Don't be like, I shouldn't do that. Just have a clear desire. Then as you're in this nice, light attention, you can control it just ever so much. You're going to construct a scene, 5 seconds or less, ideally, that implies what you want, what you do not have now, or what you think you don't have now, you actually have. It's already been done. A scene that implies that. Let's say, I don't know. Let's pick a bank account number. Let's pick a number that I think enough people could reasonably imagine. Let's say you're used to having like a few $100s or a few $1,000s in your bank account. And let's say you want to see let's not let our imaginations be limited, 6 figures in your bank account with the feeling of knowing like, this is great. I earned this in exactly the way I wanted to. It came in perfectly. I have enough. This is wonderful. That feeling. So maybe this could be you explaining or, hugging someone, a loved one, or just speaking on the phone to someone, hearing them say, wow, that's so great. Yeah, it was so easy too. You could do that. You can just imagine the phone call or the hug or a caress or whatever it is, something simple. Sensorily feel it from within your own perspective, within your own body. You're not watching yourself doing something. It's not a movie. It's from within your own perspective. You're not climbing the ladder. You're not watching yourself climb the ladder. You're climbing the ladder, feeling the rungs, right? Really simple shit. Manifestation 101. Also, if you can't do that, condense it into a simple phrase. Neville Goddard uses, isn't it wonderful? That's cool. I go, holy shit, this is amazing. Just something that conveys the magnitude of what it would feel like if you had already done that thing, because you have. That's what I'm trying to convey here. This imaginal realm, this larger dimensional reality, everything exists. You only limit, constrain, or free yourself based on what you believe to be true, right? That's it. If you believe that everything is a matrix of ultimate creation, you could say simulation, video game, hologram, anything, whatever you want to call it, it all exists. And this is how we move to different timelines. Think of timelines as like an endless series of dots. They're so close together, and each time you're moving along linearly, that's our experience here, connecting one dot to the next dot. It's like a Plinko board. You ever watch Price is Right, Plinko? The thing goes down and bops around and gets in the good one or the bad one. That's what it's like. But you can control which Plinko thing you end up in. You end up in the $10,000 one, that's a good one. That's basically what we're doing when we move through dimensions and timelines. Now, how do we raise our awareness to a state where like we're pretty much feeling like in flow all the times we want to? Okay. I will say, if you didn't have the experience of not being in flow, you wouldn't know what it would actually be like to be in flow. You'd just be like, this is what is. It might feel great, but you wouldn't know. So there is a function to these negative polarities that we experience sometimes where it's like, well, why would I want to feel sad? Why would I want to feel bad? Why would I want to feel triggered? Well, so you know the difference. It's a spectrum. It's a gradient. There was only one color. You wouldn't have a name for color. You'd be like, this is just that. This thing. There's no gray, blue, white, black, red, green, orange. Those don't exist. There's nothing. It's just this thing. So that's good that we have this range of experience. I think a lot of us went through that over the past month, 2 months. You got the full spectrum. I, for one, sometimes get lost in states of bliss, ecstasy, and flow. And I've found, and it's easier now that I have the perspective of this, sometimes I will knock myself out of those so I don't just get over. I can't effectively communicate the reality of your consciousness being God and the creator, sustainer, and destroyer of your world if I don't have a good enough grasp of what everyone is going through at all times. Do you know what I mean? And that's great. My perspective is other people's perspective. It's their experience. I wouldn't want to cut myself off from that. Then you become something other than human, which is fine. But I love our human perspective. But that does not imply we have to go through suffering or difficulty. Okay? We don't have to. I want to make that clear. You may choose to. You may forget something and get thrown into it. But you don't have to. There's no rule. And I think this is a big collective shift in consciousness that people are experiencing. It feels wrong. Our experiences, most people's experiences, I mean, the Buddhists even said life is suffering at a certain point. I mean, it's the alleviation of suffering too, which is wonderful, but just the experience of it. Sure, kind of, maybe it has been, but it doesn't have to be. So to shift our awareness away from a world that seems difficult, challenging, hard, a slog, not fair, to like, oh no, everything is perfect, everything is great. I get all of my fucking deep desires fulfilled. I'm content. I'm fulfilled. This is just amazing. That's a shift. Okay. It's not as difficult as we may perceive it to be. It's actually a quantum leap, and you can make that. You can move from any state to any state whenever you want. I'm going to keep saying that. But that shift in attention, moving your attention away from a difficult world full of challenge and, heartbreak to like a world of like fulfillment and contentment and love and harmony, that's a jump. I get it. And I'm here to say that if you are not in that permanent kind of utopian state and remain there forever, you're not doing a bad job. You're probably just playing out a different narrative. We come into these bodies as localized, centralized awareness to learn things, to experience things. I've described it as like taking a drug. Like you just like took a huge hit of something and then like, you fucking zone out for what feels like to us to be, 80, 100 something years. And like 2 seconds later, you pop out of it back in the other dimensional place. You're like, what the fuck was that? They're like, dude, you were tweaking. Your head almost hit the table. That's happened. That's my line, by the way, in reality. I have been, depending on the drugs, head almost hits the table, never going to hit the table. It may look so much like my head is going to hit the table sometimes, but it's not going to hit that table. Don't be sloppy about it. Don't let your head hit the table. Almost, maybe. A little performance, little Krishna passing out. Ooh, that's cool. That's how I like to do it. I've liked to do it. I think it's fun. So just remember that we're talking about this main perspective shift from your natural mind, what you perceive with your senses. You make a lot of decisions, but let's not lie about it. Me too. I make a lot of decisions. I have made a lot of decisions based on what my senses tell me. And it's somewhat reliable. Now, the truth is it's reliable because subconsciously on a deeper level, I believe it to be reliable, therefore it is. Withdraw your attention from that world. If it's not feeding you a reflection of what you want to be, what you wish fulfilled is, what you assume yourself to be, that's okay. Lightly withdraw your attention. Use the technique I mentioned at the beginning, earlier in this episode, or in any of the other episodes, and that's it. Just slowly shift your awareness to what you are, what you want to be. The end. It's done. It's really done. It's an acceptance of that everything is done, and then that's how we move into that movie. That's like a huge thing. And I understand we get triggered by so many things, and we can focus on those triggers, and we can focus even on healing can even become a meta pattern that we run. Oh, I need to be healed. There's something to be healed. I always have to be healing. Always be healing. ABH. Always be. Sure. Cool. You know what? Sometimes I can heal without actually being consciously aware of it. You know, when you laugh, when you listen to music, when you have a good time, that's healing. You don't have to constantly be like digging into the fucking muck of your life. You can. Don't shy away from it. Do your shadow work. Trust me. It'll just come and bite you in the ass if you don't, because you'll lack awareness of some key part of you that's seeking awareness. That's all. It's just like this constant love story. That's why Disney and like romantic comedies and all these things, they're love stories because it's the meeting. It's the meeting of the masculine and the feminine energies. It's the meeting of awareness and non-awareness, of the union of bliss and emptiness. There's so many different ways to put it. But, you know, those are my favorite ways of putting it. Have you realized you work through things efficiently and with grace yet? Have I said that? It's true. You do. You really do. There are infinite paradigm shifts going on right now. That's a doozy. Usually paradigm shifts took a little bit longer in linear time. I remember as a kid, just like 80s, 90s, like shit moved, but not that fast. Like things are slower. Things are way faster now, right? That's just seems objectively true. I don't know. What's going on, computer? Is this still recording? I'm getting glitchies up the wazippies here. Yeah, it's still recording. Okay, I'm just reading stuff now. Got a meeting in 10 minutes I got to jump on to. It's going to be a shorter episode, whatever. There's other stuff. I got fucking fire coming. We got Rodin next week, a little water baby podcast action. I'm going on Lacey's podcast later today. That's going to be fun. And I have Ryan Singer coming up, trying to get down to Nashville in November to see Jessa. There's fun stuff. Rest is a right, not a reward. Do you understand that? You don't get like a reward of rest. Like I worked really hard. Now I'm going to rest. Just rest. Do what you need to do. Don't deny yourself rest. It's fucking great. That's also when you do the imaginal technique that I mentioned. Nappy time. Take like a 10-minute time to do this. You know what people don't meditate sometimes because it's me. I'm starting to learn. I think meditation just is good, but just like don't define what you call meditation as like as a task that you need to do. That's not fun. You don't learn anything, you remember. That's important. You don't ever really gain anything. You just remember stuff. That's cool. That means you are everything because you're slowly remembering that you are. You're the only force that creates your life at the end of the day. That's just true. That's cool. That gives you all the power, all the stuffs. What feelings are you feeding yourself, right? What are you giving yourself? Have you been paying attention to your mental diet? Have you been paying attention to what you're actually thinking about yourself and the world? Have you? Because if not, that's not cool. If you're not paying attention, you don't know. I mean, maybe you just default to like an amazing train of thought. But a lot of people don't. A lot of people put a lot of pressure on themselves or overly critical of themselves or other people in their lives. Forgive everyone else because if you don't, you're not forgiving yourself, and that sucks. So forgive yourself and other people. It's just easier. And you'll know if you actually forgive someone because if you think about them or you come into contact with them and there's like nothing of someone like you had to, then you're good. If there's a little teeny bit, then you gotta just root it out. Just take it out by the root. It's okay. Have you realized you've already arrived yet? That's important. Have you? You're there. You've already been there. You've been there forever. Really. You're already there. That's cool. This VR shit, by the way, guys. I got this Oculus Quest. It's fucking great. It's fucking great. It's so cool. There's so many fun, weird worlds in there. And I just am getting started. Find me on Oculus Quest 2. Bitcoin, I don't know. How many fucking times do I have to say it? What? You guys look, right? I yak about, oh, Bitcoin is going to go. Wait for it to go down. I love that one. I'll wait for it to go down as if you're going to catch the motherfucking bottom. Good luck. Just get involved. See what's going on. You don't have to buy it when it's surging. I do sometimes. That's the trick. Sometimes I do buy it when it's going up and it keeps going up. Sometimes it doesn't. Just don't sell it. It's fine. I'm going to stop talking about that. Discord server on Patreon is the easiest way to get involved with there. It's the easiest thing. We just had a live stream last night. That was pretty fun. Shit is getting weird and I fucking love it. It's really great. There are miracles all around. Just accept them. That's it. It's accepting things. It's opening your hands. There's a waterfall. You walk to the waterfall. You put out your bucket. You take the water you need. You need a lot of water for something? Bring a bigger bucket. You need just a little thimble? Take a little thimble. It's always there. It's your imagination. It's God. It's Christ consciousness. Christ, again, to go back, the Bible, right? It's just their stories. They're personifications of states that you move through. Of belief, non-belief, satisfaction, harmony, disharmony, dissatisfaction. They're just states. It's okay. Read the stuff with that. Read everything in that. That's the real trick. Those holy scriptures and things should show you that your entire life is a holy book. You're living out the Bible. You're living out all this stuff. How does your new self feel, by the way? You should be tapping into that new, sweet new body smell. How's it feel? Feeling pretty good, right? I have a hunch. Feeling pretty good. Just a hunch. It's going good for me. It's going good for you. That's how I look at it. Your natural mind is limited by what the senses feed it. Your spiritual mind is unbound by time and space. That's what we're talking about. Thoughts are also angels. Welcome them. When you have a thought, a passing fancy, something that comes your way. I don't know why I'm going in the German voice. Not sure what that's about. When something comes your way, that's an angel. It is literally this beautiful, fucking delivered, bountiful thing that you can accept or reject. Accept what's lovely, reject what's not. That's cool, right? You become something by falling in love with the idea of it. That's how you rise to the level of consciousness you want to be. You fall in love with you. Oh my God. I love it so much. That's me. That's how it became you anyway. And you descend to the level of consciousness by hating something. Oh, I fucking hate that guy. You're that guy then. You just reflected back what's going on. That person, that motherfucker. You just did it. And it's subtle too. Sometimes we're not so dramatic about it. I fucking hate. It's just like, looking askew at. That's okay. Just rise up by falling in love with something. An idea. So cool. It's so nice to be like that. It's just fun at the end of the day. It's nothing more than that. It's true. It's true. Okay. This has been, we're going to clip it here. I got a meeting, guys. It's just what has to happen. Sometimes the episodes are shorter than the others. I do this every fucking week. I sit here and bare my soul, talk about stuff. Patreon is active. Readings are active. 15-minute readings. I found the motherfucking pocket with these things. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Slots are open. They're great. That's all I can say. Go ask someone who's done someone. I don't know. In the Discord, is there a place where people can do that? Patreon, all the tiers. $22 level tier, I've been letting you guys down. These smoke sessions have been not fucking organized correctly, but we will get it down. I'm going to fucking keep doing them. Twitch is going on. YouTube is going on. Readings. We got the tarot stuff moved to Patreon. That shit's lovely. Do the tarot readings there now. It's a fun place. There's a $7, $13, and $22 level tier. If you're having trouble joining, I don't have the money. Join the fucking low level tier. I guarantee that $8, that $7 is, you're not, it's going to be fine. Whatever you get out of a month of just being in the Discord and the extra content, you also get access to everything. So you can just pay the $7, grab everything and be like, fuck you, Noah. You suck. I stole your shit for $7. That's fine. All the music is there. A lot of people asking me about the music. It's there. It's over there on Patreon. Also have a release. Ramin just sent me the art for my singles. Fucking dope. Thanks, Ramin. You're the best. I love you. That's it for this week. Until next week, happy imagining.